What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, your weekly playbook helping you gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here to help you win. To our new viewers, welcome to the team. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. No matter where you're getting this podcast from, make sure to give us some love there. It helps us get noticed and get through all the algorithms trying to keep us away from you guys. So today's topic is passing the torch, really mentorship. So one of the big things, well, shoot, before I get going, how's my fellas doing?
Good.
What's up,
We're
dogs?
back.
Yeah,
Everyone's back together.
We're all back together. Jose held it down last week. Thank you, sir. That was
I,
pretty
I did
awesome.
the best I could, brother. I did the best I could.
Well, I think he did great. Sounds like he did great.
I don't know. I think it's the lowest rated episode ever.
It's the lowest rated episode in the last week, bro.
Yeah, I know. Man,
Yeah, so mentorship. I know you guys are a product of mentorship. You've mentored people. You guys believe in this stuff. But I thought a good way to kick this off would be just to kind of set a little framework. Mentorship isn't necessarily, you know, training from the general aspect of showing somebody a skill. That's not, complete. That's to me a piece of mentorship or can be a piece of mentorship. Nor is it, barking orders at somebody or supervision. Mentorship is teaching others how to be more successful through your experience, and this takes a lot of different flavors in the skilled trades. There obviously is a large component of it that has to do with training, and so some mentorship fails to start it off nice and crisp is in our industry. I don't know about you guys, but I started as an hourly employee helper. I worked for a flooring company that hired employee installers, very little subcontractors at the time, although later on with the company, they increased that. But hazing was a huge thing. Every single person that started there got, set up to get made fun of or had something happen. And while that could be a fun little thing, and I'm not even necessarily discouraging good-heartedness around that, but from the standpoint of doing that and trying to gain somebody's trust and respect is kind of counterproductive. So when I first started, it was like every trick that could be played, hiding keys, like just messing with you all the time was the flavor of the day. Later on, I got with somebody, an older gentleman that was not like he didn't play those games. He was just like all business. But this dude was the best for that stage of my career, the best teacher, mentor I could have, teaching me how to act on a job site, teaching me how to respect other people, teaching me how to get my way, meaning in flooring, you got to know how to get floor space in commercial in particular, but I'm sure there's a piece of this in new build residential and probably even residential remodel. But in commercial, you got to learn how to sweet talk people and get floor space because we take up the most area
you
of
need the floor
any
to do the
of the
floor.
trades. Yeah. And so he taught me the art of like getting what you want on a job, getting your floor space, talking to people, making deals. It helped me learn how to negotiate with people. I was 19, and he was teaching me how to negotiate with other trades. To hey man, if I get in here, can you come in here later, and just kind of coordinating. But it's really was big negotiation to get what I wanted, and I took that with me forever. I mean, I got better and better and better at it, and sooner or later, I became a really effective installer because of my ability to get what I needed on a job, get the GC. I still use these skills today, getting GCs to make sure that they have the project ready, all these things, conditions, spaces, all the fights that we know about. But that early mentorship was was key for me. It was and showed me how to be a responsible person. I think that we missed a lot in our industry.
It 100% is, and you said a couple things that looking back, and you don't look at it like the hazing, right? But some of the hazing, like what it does is it eliminates the people who don't fit the culture that is already there, right? Or it opens up that floodgate for individuals who might be a little shy to say, you know what, I think that's pretty hilarious, or hey, I'm with it. I know we didn't always do it the right way. There were some things that we did that were pretty stupid. You look at it now, but yeah, hazing for sure. That was it, and I'm very thankful for the gentleman that I started with. Like, he was all the extremes. He was a professional, right? He was a hazer. He was a funny guy. He was a bully. He was your friend. It was everything. It was a weird dynamic.
And
Also, you mentioned negotiations. That right there, like the art of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Is, that's a very important one to me. Go
I
ahead,
don't
Benjamin.
know. I'm on the opposite side of the fence when he's talking about the guy that he started with, because coming from someone younger, all that hazing made me want to quit every single day.
And look at
Yeah.
you.
Well, I tell you what, you have to be pretty thick skinned if someone's always messing with you and you're just trying to go do your job. So I think that, if you're in a leadership position, meaning you're a crew lead, you should, it doesn't mean you can't have fun. It just doing it with a good-hearted manner is you I get it. You want to see if your new guy can take a little bit of razzing and such, and that's all fine and dandy. But you also have to teach them the good stuff, and you got to have the patience. You know the the mentorship that we need in skilled trades in general is like, one of the notes say backbone of the flooring industry. Well, I think it's the backbone of almost any trade, like teaching people how to act properly, but also, like I said, get what they want, negotiate, teaching them the actual skill itself. I mean, you get better when you teach people, when you show people, when you train. Many authors will talk about this, that after they write the book is when the concepts that they wrote about, you would think they're already experts, but a lot of times they're really good at it. They write it down and they get even better after they have published a book about it. These things are the teach and apply kind of situation. And when you're out there mentoring people, you're also held accountable to whatever you're mentoring. If you're telling somebody to be honest and you're a big liar, I mean, right?
Yeah,
So
that's that's one of those things. Do as I say, not as I do. Right?
yeah.
You can't be a mentor and
So my dad used to tell me.
yeah. I mean, come on. Like I'm a father, right? I'm a parent. It's someone that is true to an extent, right? You do as I say, not as I've done. I've done it all, so that way you don't have to. Still gonna do it. People are still gonna want to go their own way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that it begs the question of like, how do you build um a culture of mentorship? And I think it's important to realize that we have to do a good job as lead installers of training the next generation. Yeah, I've trained multiple installers. One of the guys I worked with back in the day came in today uh, to look for some work. So you'll be around these people for a long time. One of the, it's my son, but it's still a great story of mentorship, was teaching him the flooring industry and how to interact with people and talk to people since he was 13 years old. And when he went to college, he landed a sub job, 1099 job, doing student housing, and he made between around $300 per unit, and he'd get 2 to 3 of those done a week. Well, that's pretty damn good money for a college kid, and
Yeah.
he could work on his own terms. From a time frame standpoint, they just wanted him to get a couple of them done a week, and as long as he was in that realm, he could go there when he needed to, around his class schedule. And you know that was a big help for him his freshman year of college.
Yeah.
And he's running our Kansas City division now, and now he's in the position where he's going to have to mentor people.
And I think sometimes you just don't know that you're mentoring someone until later on when they're like, everything just finally clicks. Like working with this guy back in the day. And then, one of those things that still stands out in my head when I was angry because I felt like I was undervalued, right? And then that's when he said that it's like, if you only work like you're worth this much, that's all you're ever going to get. So it's not until you start, putting forth that effort. And I think that was around the time that my mindset started changing towards it's not just I only get paid, $15 an hour, so that's all I'm going to do. It's if I only work like that, that's all I'm ever going to get.
That's all you'll ever get. Yeah, that's a very good point. A lot of guys think that way. I'm getting paid XYZ. That's what I'm going to perform to. If you perform to your pay, then what incentive does your lead or your boss or the owner of a company have to ever move you up, like ever give you an increase? Because this is the huddle, we use a lot of you know sports analogies, football in particular. Uh, One thing that comes to mind is, you remember Devin Hester with the Chicago Bears? You
Mm.
guys
I haven't
remember
heard
him?
that in a while.
He was a return man, and a return man. I mean, extraordinaire. He was fantastic. Dante Hall with the Kansas City Chiefs was this way as well. They both wanted to, become wide receivers. Not be just because, obviously wide receivers you get more ball time, but hell of a lot different pay structure for a wide receiver than a punt returner or a kickoff return guy. Well, they both had to prove themselves in that position, go play the position before they got signed to that position. And it just makes me think, like, that's what we have to do in business and in the trade, is you have to do that extra. If you're a carpet guy and you start doing LVP, this is probably a really bad example, but um, if you're good enough to do it and you've taken some training, you just do it. And of course, I'm speaking from more of a out by the hour standpoint. But if you can show that you're worth more, then you will make more. But performing to your current level of pay is obviously just doesn't give much reason to pass that increase on. So that's a great point, Daniel.
I want to add to that a little bit, and just so like some of the viewers out there understand that it is not just showing up at work and doing it right. It's you can go to work and do everything they ask, and that's it. But it's what you do at home on your own time is what you're doing to better yourself, uh, that shows at work. If you go home and practice a little bit, you improve for work, for the workforce, for your team. And sports, you can go to practice 2 3 days a week, but those days that you have off and you put in a little bit of work, that's going to show. You have additional swings, you have additional grounders. Like we're coaching baseball this year, so that's what I got for comparison. Is you got to put in some work on your own, and it will show.
Yeah, and working hard, you know, being willing to go that extra mile goes a long way. When you show you're interested, for the people who need mentorship, your responsibility is show that you're a sponge. show that you're willing to be taught, that you're coachable and you're trainable. A lot of times guys will try to mentor somebody, and if they're not open minded, or they don't want to learn, or they seem to be adverse to being explained to. I've heard, and sometimes it may be my style, but I've heard that said about me, is that explaining to me. Well, sometimes that's part of mentorship, is teaching in different ways. Now, that could be a stylistic problem on my part, but at the end of the day, you, as the mentoree or mentee,
Mentee.
how
Yeah.
you would say that in the singular way, but um, you got to be coachable. And that's one of the number one things we look for when we're hiring somebody, is, are they coachable?
You have to,
Do they want to be coached?
yeah, there you go. Yeah. I think that's what it is do they really want something more than what they have or what they are? That's, that's hard to cipher right away, right? Because it takes time. And over time, they show you, everyone does. Everyone shows you who they really are over time. And it's, you can pick up on, some of it here and there, but I don't think it's one of those things where the truth really comes out until time has passed. And sometimes time has passed with you not being present. There's a gap, and maybe you gave some advice, or maybe you said a couple things that really stuck. And a year, 2 years go by, you come back, you meet up, and you see the progress.
Yeah, and from a from a position of not just thinking about yourself and what you're going to get out of it, if as a mentor, think Roland just said, there's no better feeling than mentoring somebody and then make it. There's a lot of guys that may have made livings because of what I taught them.
Mhm.
Um, that is a really good feeling, when you know that a man puts food on his table because of a skill that you were able to transfer over to him. That's how we have to look at it, is that you're building the next generation of leaders if you're an older guy, but you don't have to be old to mentor somebody. You just have to
No.
have something of value to offer to that person.
I mean, there's a lot of things that you can learn from a mentee as a mentor as well, right? Because
Yes.
there's been, some of the guys that I've talked to, and they take what I say, and then they're like, man, I never heard it put that way before, but it's everyone has a different perspective. So it's that back and forth. And like, even you guys were talking about, seeing it afterwards, right? You're talking to them, and then one of the best things for me is when you don't have to say anything to them. They come to you with the questions, like, why do we do it like this? And it's like, let me explain why we do it, and then they lock that stuff in.
Another cool thing about it is, um, that when we kind of hit on it earlier, but when you're showing somebody or you're teaching someone, and this, both of you guys, from teaching classes, that you've learned from the guys you're teaching something, like they'll do something, you're like, I've never seen it done that way, and you're like, shit, that's a great way to, let me try that next time. But you actually do learn, and you get better at what you're teaching as you're teaching it. It's a really weird thing, but as you teach something, you actually get better at doing that thing yourself.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super cool.
Funny part about that is most of the time when I'm teaching something and it's hands on, I usually mess it up the first time when I'm showing somebody.
Or cut yourself.
Or cut myself. That's not what you're supposed to do, guys. Let me come back. Let me come back and redo this.
Show them what not to do.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's always the line, right? And this is exactly what you're not supposed to do. So let's start all over and do it right.
So in your company, when you guys were early on, did you think about mentorship? Did you have any place? Did you think
No,
about, like,
I
grabbing
never
people? And,
never thought about it. And then it just, like I said, sometimes you don't know what's happening until later on, and you're like, oh, I guess that kind of is. And that's why the same reason why we tell people that we were accidentally successful in what we do, right? It's everything has been happening by accident, and it just happened that we were doing the right thing without actually knowing it was the right thing at that time.
Yeah, there's something to that. Like, you don't always know that you're mentoring. You're kind of just showing people, but giving a good example is a form of mentorship. You don't this doesn't have to be a handshake arrangement, right? It's like, do the things, teach well, respect the other person, and think about what you're doing for that person, no matter who they are.
Right. Chad said that choosing the correct mentor for you is important as well. He's had the privilege from a young age having a band director that taught him hard work and dedication pays off. Now having two pillars in the inspection world that he worked close by in the beginning of his career. You know, once you reach that point in your own career, it's important to pay it forward to the next generation. And
Yeah.
100%. And I'll still go back to he mentioned his band director, and one of my band directors passed away when I was in like 11th grade or something like that. And we did. I would sit in his office and we would just talk, and you don't realize some things until years later, when I look back and it's like those teachers that told me when I didn't think I was gonna amount to anything, and they pulled me to the side and was like, "Dude, you're smarter than you think you are." And me just being like, "Nah, dude, I'm just dumb." They're like, "No, yeah," and like the choices you're making are dumb, but you're not dumb. And that didn't resonate until years later when you look back at it and it was like, man, I was dumb because
Yes, he
I
was.
could have been somewhere else, but I mean, that's life, right? It takes you to where you need to go, not necessarily where you want to go sometimes.
Well, we're glad you're here because you wouldn't be
Yeah.
sitting on this podcast right now helping others understand the importance of mentorship if you weren't. Yeah, it's I think we all probably have stories of like our teachers being our mentors or some form of that. To me, the coolest mentorships were not the ones I paid for, because I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years to be mentored by
I'll be your
different
mentor for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
for different business coaching classes or courses over the last 25 years. Those are important, and I would not discourage anybody from paying somebody to be a mentor or a coach. But some of the coolest ones are just that guy that you are friends with, that's a good businessman. In my case, he was a really good businessman, and he just had these little quips in regular conversation that was like, you know, gold nuggets just tossed in my wallet. You know what I mean? I didn't know it at the time necessarily, but they turned out to be so valuable. Um, it made me, one time in particular, we were at a Christian men's conference together, and I was in the bathroom washing up, and he hears me on the phone. I'm doing this number with the phone on my head, and he says, uh, because I was doing a job for the president of a general contractor's house, and it was a nightmare, and I was doing it for
Uh,
free, essentially for free, because I was just trying to schmooze up to the guy, and he was like, he straight up said, "Look, doing a favor is one thing, but doing what you're doing is you should charge every single time. First off, not because you need to make money on that certain thing, but it shows them that you know your worth, not that you're not free. The things, and he continued on, but it hit me then. It's not like you can't do a favor for somebody or help somebody out. That's not what he was saying. He was saying that, doing something for free to get future work essentially is not a good model. Now, I've taken that to the bank. I don't care what I do for you. If you're a client of mine, I'm going to make you want to pay me. That's where I ended up getting, is like, I want to do such a good job, go overboard with service, overboard with communication, that you want to give me money. and that's paid dividends over the years, and it all came from a pretty simple conversation from a guy that I didn't even ask to be my mentor, but in 2009, I was one of the 40 under 40, which is from the Wichita Business Journal. In a community, they'll do a 40 under 40, and I was one of the 40 under 40s. And he went to my banquet, to the banquet for it, but I listed him in there as a mentor and somebody I super appreciated, and he didn't even know it until that day.
That's awesome. Can you give him a shout out? And it's, looking back, you think about all the, like you said, the short little conversations where you didn't know that you needed to hear it. You didn't know if you wanted to hear it, but you heard it and you couldn't let it go, right? It resonated no matter how small, how quick. And
Yeah,
it's weird
those
how
are the cool
much,
ones. Those are the
yeah,
those are the
they apply to so much. Like they just apply to so much. I don't like you had mentioned that about doing it for free. There was a point when me and Daniel were like, dude, they're not tied to us. They're just going to keep calling saying, can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor? Finally, it's like, no, can you do me a favor and start calling me more than 3 times a year when you're in a bind?
mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, yeah, it's just one of those things. You come to the realization that not you're the only one that looks out for you. And that's really where I was going with that whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. And there's also this, like I was talking about earlier, you can pay for coaching and stuff. The value in that, and I encourage it, even though I'm not a coach. I don't charge anybody for any advice I've ever given them. Um, but I encourage it because then you have some skin in the game as the mentee. Like
Yeah.
you've put some skin in the game. And so you learning something is almost guaranteed if you pay somebody to teach it to you.
Right. And if you're not looking at paying someone, there are some programs out there that you can actually get a mentor assigned to you um, through a program. I think it's called Score, right?
Oh, yeah. The local one here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I
Is
mean,
that through the chamber?
this one is through the chamber.
Well, I don't know if it's through the chamber. I think it's another program that's out there that the chamber highlights when the questions come up, and
So,
they're affiliates with the chamber.
yeah. So it's just score.org, and it's a nonprofit. I'm guessing because the .org, but you just, you go in there and you start talking to someone, they assign you someone, and I mean, I guess I hope that they're a good fit, but I think they assign them based on your specific needs.
Yeah, and there's also if you get involved in the industry, there's quite a few opportunities to be mentored as well. If you get involved with CFI or one of the training entities, there's typically a mentorship style to that. There's a lot of really great guys in CFI that'll kind of pull you along. If you guys know John Steyer, he's
Dude,
like,
that dude's
one of the
awesome.
coolest dudes ever. And I don't know how many people he's taught, but he's in small town, Iowa, I think.
Yeah.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah, and he just constantly is trying to help other guys either get into the industry or improve their status in the industry as it is. And
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
He'll leave this guy right here or send him voice messages or leave him
Dude,
voicemails that are like 5 minutes long sometimes.
I know, dude.
I love it, dude. I wouldn't
He
change it.
loves
Wouldn't change it.
the text mail, like the voice to
Yeah.
text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always respond back with, I don't have nothing to say to this. I'm just sending you a little voice message so I feel cool too.
Yeah, so I
But
mean, mentorship is rewarding on both sides. It's helping the other person, but it is like Wallen said earlier, it's super rewarding when you help somebody achieve a goal that they're striving for, whether that's in professional, marriage, relationships, business, jobs, kids. God, oh, kids.
Oh
Uh,
man, that's the tough one right now, and especially when you have different parenting style as your significant other, and then it's like they say something, and you're like, you know what? I'm not trying to be his best friend right now. I'm trying to be his parent, and like I said earlier, it's one of those things where he may not realize it right now, but in 15 years when he looks back on it and he remembers this moment, I'm fine with that. If he
Yeah,
hates me right now.
yeah, not to get into parenting advice, but I would tell you after raising two children, and I work with both of them now, they both, growing up, thought, it was like, I'm trying to raise productive members of society,
boom.
not, have a best friend at the moment. And man, kids just, they're in that zone, especially from about, our current our current kid,
Right
probably
now, yeah.
from about 14 till, he's gonna eventually see it, I think. Um, but my son was the same way, and it wasn't until he was probably 22 or 23, maybe even 24, before he was like, man, I like, he actively makes sure I know that he appreciates me as a father.
Fingers
And
crossed on that one for me. That's for sure.
that wasn't it wasn't nothing like that when he was a teenager, when
He
I
already
was,
knew everything back then.
yeah,
Yeah,
he knew it
yeah.
all for sure. And our
Same way
current
we did.
children that are in the house, I've got a 15-year-old, and he is the same way. He knows everything. And I just got to keep remembering that, hey, eventually it helps them provide for themselves later. You're doing them a disservice by trying to be buddy buddy with them and not teach them the skill of being an adult and
Yep.
the skill of, I talk to my kids, I'm like, look, there's constant, you'll answer to somebody for the rest of your life. When you get out of this house, you're done answering to me, but you got to answer to the law. You got to answer to your boss. You got to answer to your customers if you are the boss. You got to answer to some guy's wife who's picking out the materials. Like, it's going to happen. You have to answer to somebody. So accountability, you might as well learn it now as a teenager, because you're going to be accountable to somebody for the rest of your life. Your wife, your parents, your children, your clients, whoever.
And it's funny you say that, right? Like you think about the whole mentor thing, and my son, literally having conversation with him right now, like, dude, you love me right now, and I'm your best friend right now, but like 2 years, you're gonna hate my guts. No, I'm not, Dad. I said, look, I know it's gonna happen. You don't yet, but I do. I said, just know that when you hate me because of what I'm saying and what I'm doing it because I love you, and that's all you need to know. And he's a pretty good kid, but he
Yeah, I
does some
mean,
pretty dumb
it,
stuff.
it it may not be the same, right? When you're mentoring someone else, meaning the love piece, but
Yeah,
it could be. I mean, you should, care about the other person enough to teach them the right way of doing things, whether that's a flooring, an actual hand skill technique, or if that's, some of the soft skills. And that's one of the places I think we struggle the most in flooring is soft skills. I mentor with several of our subcontractors about hiring and how to deal with, you know, like employees. They got to hire people, they got to hire helpers or they hire other installers, and understanding how to deal with people and do those things. To me, it's not a tough thing at all. I enjoy talking to the guys, but you're always going to have to do it.
always. And everybody's a little bit different. I don't ever look at it. To me, I've never been a mentor. I'll be honest. I've never tried. Like the only thing I do is I give opinions to questions that are asked. That's all that I have to offer. And is dealing with like employees and people. Daniel has definitely helped me calm down a lot, and so has baby sister, right? Because you kind of they're two different people as well, but when they're both together, they both come to an agreement. It's a realization that I'm the odd one out. All right, let me change something. try to. And I think that goes with anybody in their group. As a group, you're all each other's mentor, right? Is that what it is? You're all learning from each other, and you evolve together. And I think that the flooring industry is doing that right now as well. And you got people like John, you got Daniel, you, myself. We're all out here trying to help someone by giving opinions and saying this is where I messed up. So inadvertently we're doing our best and accidentally mentoring maybe one person. Who knows?
It's all it takes is one person.
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, just being on the podcast, when we first started this, I was nervous as I could be just to get in front of a camera. And, I mean, it's been a while, but we've been doing this for a little bit now. And I can't say that, it's not still nerve wracking sometimes knowing that all your thoughts and what you say is going to be live on the internet for eternity if somebody wants to find it. But the truth is that you grow when you mentor, when you challenge each other, and that's what getting involved and being a mentor is about. I think is getting around other guys. It's not like you have this mentor and then there's nobody around him. He's learning from somebody too. I guarantee it. If he's good at you, he learned from somebody else as well. If he's a good mentor, he's probably was mentored. That's just the way it goes. Chad, who's one of our best friends here on the Huddle, he says that, mentorship, being an effective member is about patience, leading by example, investing your time, and tough love. I think we've talked about every single one of those things.
Isn't it? That's part of the conversation all the time, right? Everything always goes into some of that. It's every day is a little bit of a example of tough love.
Yeah.
Every single
Well,
day.
we talk about it with our kids, but you also have to do it with work, and it often shows through at work in the form of accountability. It's harder a lot of times to call somebody out or tell them the right way to do something than to just let it slide. But your business will suffer if you do not correct bad behavior. And so that's where, accountability comes in. Our leadership team, at my flooring company, we talk a lot about accountability and how to hold each other accountable. It's something that is nearly in every week's conversation. So that's part of mentorship too, is holding each other accountable. When you have somebody, that's one great thing about being an actual mentor, is it adds this layer of accountability to what you say and to how you carry yourself. This podcast is another I would say another mechanism of accountability as well. I mean, we get on here and we talk. If we're not acting the way that we're trying to tell people that we think is best, I mean, so I know that for me, when I'm out here talking, I want to put the best foot forward, but I also want to make sure that I'm acting appropriately and running my business the way that I talk about.
Practice what you preach, brother.
Yeah, boy.
Was that I forget the singer's name that sang that song.
Jorge has joined. Let's add Jorge in. Let's see what he's got to say.
Georgie.
With the mentorship.
What up, brother?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you are.
No, you don't have a signal right now, bro.
You're like AI. You're like AI Georgie.
Look.
It's not pronounced AI, it's pronounced I.
I'm gonna remove him until he gets better signal. But yeah, so to me, it's always it's one of those things where being a mentor, you, like I said earlier, you probably have been mentored, and I've got a lot of people that I have a lot of respect for, that's walked me through my career, walked with me and taught me a lot of things, and I try to pass that on.
Yeah, his signal sucks. That's Texas for you.
We know.
Well, we're right in the middle of a flash flood here in Kansas, so I hope
Yeah,
it's good there in
are you safe? Are you safe,
Michigan.
brother? Like,
Yep. Yeah, everyone's safe. My wife had to go pick up my grandchild um from the daycare because or from school, I guess, because my daughter who helps run this podcast is stuck like flooded in out of house.
that's
I mean, she can't get
crazy
out.
to me, dude.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's been raining for seems like 10, 15 hours straight. Good heavy rains.
So look
All
at
right,
this whole
anybody
this
Hopefully,
what
whole. Go ahead.
hopefully not too much damage is done.
Yeah.
floods can be something
Un-
else. I know just right down the street, I mean, it was coming up to the doors on some cars. So, out in the country where my daughter's at, she is they ain't got great drainage systems. It's just whatever nature gives you out there. And so she is probably going to be there for a while.
Couple of
It's not
days.
like the city that it dissipates pretty quickly. Oh, I'll probably go get her in my big old Dodge truck and I should be able to make it through.
Man, you gotta take some pictures of that. Like, I know it sucks, and you didn't think
I
about
should
stuff
have
like
took
that.
one earlier,
But
man.
I don't.
There's
We don't see that here. Like on the roads, maybe. Like, oh, the bridge over by Division Avenue is flooded again before 28th Street. That's really all we get.
And then there's
yeah.
always a car that tries to go through.
And it's
At
always
least
Yeah,
like
one.
an Audi that thinks that they can go through 4 feet of water.
yeah, there's a little town just north of us, and when I say just north, I mean it's attached to Wichita. So it's essentially Wichita, but it had flooded so bad up there. Cars were like the water was moving cars, like
Ah,
floating cars away. So, yeah, stay away from the floods. So, in real world mentorship, to close this out as we're coming upon our the end of our time together, as a mentor, be giving, right? Be patient. Uh, and giving, I mean, you're giving your time and giving though in this the case that in the sense that you actually care about the person that you're teaching. I think that is one of the things that I can do better at myself. And then as a mentee or somebody learning, you got to be coachable, man. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to drop the ego and know that there's other people that know things that you don't know. And you're going to learn a lot if you can just drop that ego and listen and learn. And
um,
don't look for the perfect mentor. That's the other thing. Don't look for somebody who's perfect because there is nobody who's perfect. Find a mentor that kind of fits um, your style
I would say,
and
well,
your
personality.
way of your
Yeah,
personality and your
personality
way of
is real
communicating.
important, right? Yeah. Um, I don't know what to add to that besides that if you're gonna, depending on no matter what side of the coin you are, just know that you're gonna hear some things you agree with, some things you don't agree with, and just take it for what it is. And that thing you don't agree with might resonate with someone else later on in life that you're helping out, and you don't even know that you're helping out.
True.
And we're strong proponents for the certifications and stuff like that. That's no question, and that's what Chad was saying earlier too. It's go to the certifications and meet other like-minded people, and then I mean just go from there. Like you said, John, that's where we all met John. And
Mhm.
then just the actual instructors and the people that are in charge. I mean, look at Dave Garden. This guy over there talks to Dave Garden quite a bit. I know you talk to him too. You sit on the board, and I with Sonny and Paul, I talk to them every few weeks just to keep in touch and make sure things are going good. But it's stuff like that you don't think that you need, but just to have those people in the industry, the same industry that you're in, to reach out to with any questions is huge.
Yeah, I like it. Get around like-minded people. You'll find a mentor. In fact, a lot of times you just kind of get adopted. Like your
Yeah,
lost puppy, and they just gets kind of picked up.
you don't. Sometimes it just happens on accident, right? Like
Hmm.
you
So
don't even know it.
I know a few years ago at CFI convention, they had like assigned mentors. Like you showed up and you're like, oh, I was like, oh, Kelly is my mentor. I had no idea who Kelly was, and then I seen him and I was like, oh, I know you from Facebook. And then he's like, yeah, we're having this meeting right now. Come in here. And then he took me in the meeting, and then they shut the meeting down because I was in the meeting.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Your mentor was trying to break some rules for you. That's a good mentor.
I'm trying to get you in the room. And that's what a good
He
mentor
got
will
me in.
do as well, get you in the room. All right,
Daniel's drinking
guys. Well,
toilet
we
water.
are closing up, and I want to tell everybody thank you very much. We still have 10 minutes, but I personally just want to take a quick chance and tell the audience how much we appreciate your guys' participation. Your affluence for the huddle has been freaking awesome. We truly appreciate it. We love seeing you guys at conventions and gatherings. So make sure if you see us, this year anywhere, come up and say hi. And heck, we're probably going to be shooting a podcast wherever we're at. So come jump on. Just a quick memento of my appreciation to everybody. It's been really awesome, and we're going to continue to grow the channel. We're going to continue to work hard. That's consistent. Some weeks we have zero comments. Back not so often anymore, but we've endured the zero comment, zero likes, zero
And,
interaction with something. Um,
and it's all
and
timing too, right? Because sometimes we won't get anything during it, but then people be watching after, and we'll get comments, up to 2 weeks after the podcast is done. So we definitely appreciate you guys still chiming in and watching even after we're not live.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hey, and that's the audience helping us and mentoring us, right? Because we can't answer questions that aren't asked, and when they're asked, it gives us something to talk about, gives us something to think about, and that's what it's all about, helping each other out.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have got to meet all the people. I'll tell you someone who is a friend. He's crazier than hell, but one of the guys that got me like just no matter where I was at, he was introducing me to someone. And when I first started getting involved with the industry, and I've been in the
Dusty.
flooring industry since I was 19 years old, but getting involved in the industry and then being an installer is two different things. But when I first started going to like CFI convention, or I'd go to hang out around the CFI area or one of the training entities, um, the guy that would always make sure to grab me and go take me to see someone was Dwayne Pruitt. That guy
Always,
would take
brother.
me no matter what. He just wanted to introduce. And I remember one year we were shooting live from CFI conference, and he was just going and grabbing
Going and
people.
He was
grabbing
We're gonna,
people.
recruiting.
That
yeah.
was our first time when we did anything live at an event like that.
It was
And
too,
we
and
tried bringing him on. And he was like, "No, let me go get you some people."
I'll get you people, but I'm not getting on. And he has been on once, I believe, since. So, yeah, shout out to all the great CFI people out there, all the great training entities, AFT, NAFCT, Natural Fiber, which is part of CFI. Shout out to everybody. Keep up the good work. Keep training. Keep working hard. Showing people the right way to do our do this business. It's been a dream of mine in building Go Career to create a community where subcontractors are held accountable and rewarded, both based off their skill set and their reputation. And that's what my commitment to this industry still is. I'll continue to keep doing that. Trade Tap is coming down the pipe, and we're going to be doing some different things in the coming year. Really excited about some of the changes, but the skill score is still there, still doing its job. And I think that accountability is one of the key points I said there is being accountable. Like as an installer, we don't have anything that we can shout from the rooftops a lot of times, and that other people understand. And I'm hoping that in the future we're able, as a community, to embrace something where we can all build each other up and reward, reap the rewards, I should say, of being great installers. So keep it up there, training entities. You two are always, look at look at Jose last week running the show on his own. Thank you, sir, for that. That was pretty freaking awesome too. But I took a
It was
little
all
vacation.
Ashland.
All action. Yeah. Well, probably setting it up, but I know you get in front of a mic, you're just fine.
I do
Yeah,
okay
I had to
sometimes.
miss last week. It was my son's last JV ball game of the season, so he was pitching.
And
We did not pull off the win, but he kept them to 1 run, 2 runs. I think we lost 1-2.
sweet.
That sounds
Well,
like an offensive issue, or
It
just
was.
a pitcher's duel. That's all it was, right?
It was both. I mean, when they put someone in, if someone views that as your best pitcher, they're gonna be like, all right, well, my best pitcher's going in too, and then it's a battle of the pitchers.
Who can last the
yeah.
longest?
But
Who's got
I
the
got, I got,
bats?
I got to give kudos up to that dude. He did get pulled up to varsity to pitch, so his season is still going. Makes him sad that he can't do his travel ball, but I mean, he's
He
part of
did
the
just
team.
win
They
district.
just won districts.
Good job, young
Hey,
man.
and his travel team just won a tournament, and for the first time ever, my son and his son's team were at the same tournament and won their division.
Nice.
Boom,
Look at
On
this
the field
family affair.
on the field right next to each other. I was on the
back to back.
bleachers watching my son, stood up to watch his son.
That's
Couldn't have happened
cool.
any more perfect.
That is freaking cool. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys as always. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, as a reminder, give us a like, subscribe.
Boom,
It really
boom.
does help us out, and keeps us going. So until next week, we will see you later. We're out.
Thank you, everybody.